Good evening, everyone that's logging in. We will start shortly. We're just waiting for a couple of other folks to join our bidders conference today. While you're waiting, could you please make sure your mics are muted at this time? Thank you. How many do we have so far, Ms. D?
We're missing a few, but if you want to go ahead and start, it's up to you.
I'll give it another minute and then we'll start. All right, good evening today. Thank you all for joining our second evening session for the Youth Mentoring RFP 2023-02 Bidders Conference. Before we get started, I'm gonna do some staff introductions, not myself, but I'll let them introduce themselves. We'll start off with our Executive Director.
Good evening, everybody. I am Marcia Kiner. I would like to say thank you all for joining us. I hope that this session will be beneficial to you as you prepare to submit for our mentoring and character building RFP. Let me thank you in advance for the work that you are doing in this space and the work that you will be doing in this space. So again, I welcome you, and hopefully this session will help you as you prepare to submit for our proposal. Thank you, Dion.
And we'll go with Fiscal Department.
Hi, my name is Diana Sanchez. I'm the Finance Director. Hello and good evening.
Hi, my name is Nicole Odom, and I am the Fiscal Manager here at the Trust.
Ms. D.
Demetrica Tyson, Program Specialist. Good evening, everyone.
Belita.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Belita James, and I am a contract manager here with the Trust.
And my name is Dion Carruthers, and I'm also a contract manager here with the Children's Trust, and I will be leading this bidders conference, and my team will be, it's like we call it popcorn, jumping in and out when they're presenting in their areas expertise. Ms. D, there's no other staff on this call, is it?
You have Bonnie B.
I'm sorry, Bonnie. I'm thinking about this morning.
Hey, good evening, everyone. My name is Bonnie Wagner. I'm the Research Planning and Evaluation Coordinator for the Trust.
All right. Yeah, see, this is what happened when we do this twice in one day. And my brain is like, oh, I already did that. So sorry about that, Bonnie. So we're gonna get started now. I'm gonna go over the agenda for today. We will cover the overview of the solicitation, the minimum requirements to bid, the timeline, the term, the scope, evaluation criteria, the model contract that is located in the RFP itself for you to review, data collection and performance measures, application review and training, submission checklist, and then answers and question period. There will be some slides during the presentation. We will pause to answer questions. While we're presenting, if you have questions, please put them in the chat. The team will be monitoring those questions, and we will try to address them at the appropriate time. Also, you can raise your hand if you know how to use that feature on the Zoom, so we can make sure we are getting your questions addressed. This RFP was released on the 13th. We're in a cone of silence, and what that means is All staff and all board members are nowhere to be asked any questions pertaining to this RFP. You can talk to them about the date of the day, the sunny skies and things like that, but pertaining to this youth mentoring RFP, you're not able to ask anyone on the staff or board any questions pertaining to this RFP. If you do so, that will disqualify you for submitting an application for this RFP. And once again, this is being recorded. We ask you to mute your microphones, raise your hands. I went through that, and then questions and answers will be posted on our website. And I'll get into more information about other ways after today's bidders conference where you can ask questions as needed. For those who may not be familiar with our website, when you log in, here's our website address for you to access the RFP, and all documents will be embedded in there. And I'm going to go through there. As you see on my screen lower right, you see the arrow pointing to the bids for RFP. That's where you can access any open RFPs. And at this time, you will see the open RFP bid for the youth mentoring program. The first top arrow is going to show you is an open bid. So anytime we have open bid RFPs, it will be located in that area there. And currently we only have this one open bid, which is the youth mentoring RFP. Below that, you will see the link where you can click on the bid page to get an overview and access to documents. Also on this page, you can access the individual forms to download. Now I'm gonna walk you through this process as well, share a different screen. And so we go to the home page. If you're not familiar with this process, I'm gonna click on the bid page for open RFP. Once again, these are all the required documents you would need to submit with your application. So you must download all of these forms and submit those documents for your application. You cannot use the screenshots, download the documents. So to get to the overview and more of the documentations and other information, you're going to double click on the mentoring program proposal for request for proposals. And this here is going to be an overview. I'm going to go through it step by step. The RFP was open, accepting bids as of July 13th. The due date for this RFP application is August 17th at 3 p.m., no later. Anything beyond 3 p.m. submitted will be disqualified. The trust will also add addendums to this RFP as needed with questions and things, and I'm going to show you how you will access that. The scope of service and target populations, quality of youth mentoring programs, service locations, budget, staff, and mentoring data report are part of the scope. The estimated funding of this RFP is $500,000. Anytime after this bidders conference, if you have questions that come up during the appropriate time, I'm gonna go through those dates. Here's the link you need to submit those questions. You submit those questions, we will answer those questions and post them. I encourage everyone on this call to make sure you sign up to this link below for email list notifications and updates, because once we have any updates, any questions that we are answering, even during this bidders conference, we will post them, and this update email list will give you those updates. It's important for you to have those updates because those will be addendas that you will need to be downloading, signing, and submitting with your application as we post them to that link. All right. So today we're hosting the second of this bidders conference today. So there will be no more bidders conference scheduled after this one ends tonight. We will have a last day to submit questions on August 4th. So if you have any questions after tonight, using that link above, you need to do it by August 4th. That will be the last day we will be accepting any questions concerning your application you're trying to submit. On August 8th will be the last day we will post those responses to any questions. So that would be the last date for posting any responses that you guys may have submitted. We are going to offer 3 dates for technical support, July 26th, August 8th, and August 10th. To access the technical support, you'll want to click on this email here to procurement to arrange a time and date with the staff to work with you on any technical support. Technical support will be basically on documents only. We will not be answering any questions pertaining to your application or responses to the RFP, only for documents of you understanding what a part of this RFP contains that you may not be familiar with or understanding it. Or if a document is not functioning correctly, we can help you walk through and fix that issue by making sure you're signing up for some technical support. So if there are some uncertainties about any of the documents associated with this RFP, please sign up for one of those 3 dates. We will not schedule any dates after August 10th to have any technical support. The last day to submit your application is August 17th at 3 p.m. once again. Anything after 3 p.m. is considered late, will not be qualified for review by a review team. We will then hold a public open bids meeting on August 17th at 4 p.m. announcing all those applications that came in on time that will go to the review process for our reviewers to review. Application review period is from August 21st to August 25th. Our external review team will score and deliberate at an August 28th meeting. That meeting will be held virtually. Anyone is able to attend that meeting. You're not able to speak or ask questions. You're only able to participate by listening to that deliberation. Funding recommendations will be part of our board package on September 21st. After the deliberations are finalized, the staff will put forth recommendations based on those scoring. It will be in the board package for the September 11th board meeting, which at that time, the board will then approve the recommendations or make other recommendations for this solicitation for youth mentoring RFP. The day after, on September 12th, that cone of silence ends. At that time, you're able to talk to anyone about this RFP. So from now up until September 12th, or 11th, you're not able to ask any questions pertaining to your application or the RFP that is concerning your answers to the RFP. The hope and goal is to have contract negotiations start September 18th, with all contracts starting October 1st. This below here is the supporting documents. Once again, I went over that on the slide before. You'll have Form 1, Form 2, Form 3, and here's a glossary of some language, and then we'll have the RFP as well listed here. All these documents are to be downloaded to your computer, filled out, and submitted. Please do not submit the RFP. We do not need that, and we do not need the RFP glossary. These 3 documents are the ones you need to be submitting, and you must use our documents. Please do not create your own document, especially the budget. The budget is, all these documents are trust documents, so you need to submit those documents. Also, if we're adding any addendas to this RFP that'll be in that list notification, you will need to download those as well, sign and submit as well with these required document forms with your application to be fully compliant of submission. I'm gonna stop sharing that and get back to the PowerPoint here. Before I get going, do we have any questions, Ms. D? All right. So the minimum requirements for this RFP, sorry here. You must currently qualify to conduct business in the state of Florida. That means you must be registered with the SunBiz in the state of Florida. You must have experience working with youth in out-of-school time. Must offer mentoring services to youth currently enrolled in elementary, middle school, or high school living in Alachua County. Must offer a one-to-one and a group mentoring sessions for your program. Must comply with the level 2 background screening and fingerprinting required in ordinance with Florida statutes. Must have at least 1 year experience offering mentoring services with elements of character building activities. I went over the timeline already, so we're gonna bypass that. The scope of services for this RFP, funds will be provided to support mentoring programs for 1 year with the possibility of the contract renewal based on availability of funds approved by the CTAC board, as well as successful implementation of the program. There's a strong focus on utilizing research-informed programs, best practices, and standards. Funding organizations will recruit, train, screen, support, and supervise individual adult mentors who will be matched with youth for this RFP. Once again, the solicitation amount is $500,000 for this RFP. All contracts that are awarded funding, you can get up to $75,000 per organization. The term of the contract will be October 1st, 2023 through September 30th, 2024. Any questions before we go on to the next slide?
Okay,
All right,
so
I'll
as,
pass it up. Go ahead.
okay, sorry, Dion.
All right.
Just jumped right in there. So our board has emphasized the desire to fund mentoring programs that are evidence-based or those that are drawing from best practice or research-informed standards and committing to establishing practice-based evidence. So on page 5 of the RFP, that explains a little bit more about what that is and provides some useful links to showcase. The first one showcases what some evidence-based programs are, what that means, and where you could look up to see evidence-based models. So that's the Results First Clearinghouse. And then the one below it showcases just a resource focusing exclusively on mentoring programs and looks at all research nationally on mentoring and highlights the mentoring programs based on their level of evidence and what the findings and outcomes were. The third bullet is basically a great resource to showcase different standards related to mentoring that's been compiled by people that have been in the field for a long time and covers everything from training to recruitment to support to really support quality mentoring programs. And I leveraged largely in researching the performance measures and the tools for evaluation of mentoring programs. So it's a great resource to really rely on to see what the standards are in the field for mentoring. And then the last one is a practice profile of mentoring for youth development by Crime Solutions, and they provide a meta-analysis of different outcomes that mentoring programs have achieved. So we just wanted to share this, and this for your response on this, there's a section in the form where you will on question 6, where you'll explain how your program is collecting evidence, what outcomes your program is going to be focused on, and share about your program design, theory, and model, and that will be part of the RFP. So that's to give a little bit more background and context of what that is. Back to you, Dion. Are there any questions on the evidence-based models or the research-informed practices?
All right. So I'm going to cover the program requirements. One-to-one mentoring. Mentoring component will need to be consistent and reliable to ensure trusting rapport is built between mentor and mentee to build social skills, life skills, and positive self-image. Set schedules are to be in place to allow some flexibility so that mentors and mentees can identify dates and times that work well with their schedules. The group sessions will serve as the opportunity to engage youth and adult mentors in character building activities that allow mentors and mentees to get to know and socialize with one another. Group sessions through the support of caring adults and peer role models, these activities should allow youth participants to practice those skills. The combination of one-on-one and mentoring and also group activities studies have shown provide more positive outcomes than youth who were not involved in mentoring relationship or only involved in group activities. The third component of the program requirements are stipends, emergency crisis intervention services, and transportation. I'm gonna go back up to the stipends. The contractor must describe how stipends will be provided to mentors. This must include how much and for what type of activities or events or other reasons that stipends will be provided within the justification section of the attached budget forms. This RFP requires stipends to be used for activities. So if you're doing a one-on-one activity, say taking your mentee to a ball game or some kind of function somewhere, that's a one-on-one activity. Or if you're having a group event or activity with the group, stipends can be used to support that event or activity as you guys are maybe providing some kind of outing or something as a group with all the mentees together. So that's what the stipends are used for. Stipends are not to be used to pay for volunteers or staff. You must, if you're paying your staff for mentoring, you must put that in your budget as part of your budget pays for salary employees. Later on, we will go through the budget and budget narrative to discuss that a little bit further, but stipends are not to be used to pay staff members for this RFP. Are there any questions?
There's a question in the chat. Ms. Cesra, did Dion answer your question or do you still have your question?
I would like it answered. Thank you.
Do you want to say your question out loud?
So, good evening, everyone. The question is, can each child have two mentors? One mentor that's providing individual one-on-one mentoring, and then the other mentor providing group mentoring?
That would be up to the agency as you describe your program approach. We do not tell you how to design your program. So that'll be up to how you describe your program when you submit your application, when you address those questions.
Thank you very much.
Okay. Is there any more questions? Okay. All right, all students, target population must be residing in Alachua County. This is for elementary, middle school, and high school students, boys or girls. Program must be actively taking place in Alachua County. We were asked earlier, what if the agency providing the mentoring services is not a part of Alachua County? That is fine, long as they're serving Alachua County youth within Alachua County doing the program. Yeah, we know there are trips outside or activities outside of Alachua County, but for the most part, activities should be taking place in Alachua County for Alachua County youth for the target population. I'm gonna go over the criteria for scoring. There's gonna be 4 evaluation sections for this. The first section is program description, which consists of 5 questions you will be asked to answer. You will be able to get up to 30 points in this area. The first question, describe an overview of your mentoring program focus and priority areas. Describe the curriculum or training that you intend to use. Also describe how program supervisors will provide ongoing support to recruit mentors. Third question, describe your program policies and procedures that address youth and mentor incidents and other unexpected circumstances during mentoring program hours. And the fourth question, describe your program aligns with our CTAC goal number 3. And that goal is all children and youth live in a safe community. The fifth question for this area is describe how your program establishes and utilizes evidence to assess effectiveness and impact. Please also remember to indicate your program currently what it has in place or not if you are supplying this kind of information for your program. The second criteria for evaluation is program implementation. I'm sorry. And I got this screen kind of blocking my language there, so I'm gonna. Describe your program design and implementation is the first question. In this area, you can get up to 25 points scored. Describe how you will identify and recruit mentors. Describe the youth population and age range you intend to serve, how many youth your program will serve, and how you will recruit youth. Describe how your organization intends to communicate with parents or guardian. The fourth question, describe how CTAC funds will be used to expand or enhance your current program or create a new program. And the fifth question for this section is describe your organization's collaborative efforts and how those efforts positively impact or your services and improve the lives of the children you serve. The next criteria area is agency stability and capability. You can get up to 20 points in this section. The first question you will be answering is describe your organization mission and services. The second question is describe your organizational capacity to carry out the proposed project plan. And the third question, describe how your organization will sustain your proposed program beyond the term of this contract. And the final section for evaluation criteria is the budget section, and you can get up to 25 points in this area as well. The first question to answer will be detail the financial support from whom and the amount you receive your proposed program, including in-kind services your organization leverages. There will be a tab 2 of the budget form that will be talked about with the fiscal department a little later in this presentation to help you address this question. The second question, describe your organization's fundraising activities. The third question, submit complete and accurate budget and budget narrative forms. Application must use our CTAC forms. Once again, we talked about that earlier. And the fourth and final question for this area is attach all CTAC required fiscal document forms. Copy of your current 990 form or current organization audit, annual audit. We will also address that question a little bit further with our fiscal department, also a little bit later in this presentation to help you. Are there any questions about the evaluation criteria? All right. So those 4 areas, there's a total of 100 points you can accumulate with this scoring. Scores between 80 and 100 will be recommended for funding. Score from 70 to 79.9 will be recommended for funding contingent upon available funding. And then also score 69.9 and below will not be recommended for funding. So I'm gonna pass the next slide over to my colleague, Belita.
Thank you, Dion. Hello, everyone. I will be going over briefly going over the contract review, what it would look like if you had a contract with the trust. I also want to remind you that a copy or an example of the contract is within the RFP application. So it is there for you to review and familiarize yourself with it. The term of the contract is October 1st, 2023 through September 30th, 2024. The next items that I will cover, they accompany the contract. So the first one is the scope of service, and this is the same scope that you will fill out when you fill that part out in your RFP application. So that will be the same scope of services that will be attached to the contract. Next will be your final budget and budget narrative, and this will guide your reimbursements. The next attachment will be certificate of insurance. The trust requires all providers to provide us with a certificate of insurance, and as the trust being the certificate holder. And if you see under the certificate of insurance requirements, we would like it to show as it appears on the screen. If you can still see it, I don't know if I'm showing or Dion or the screen is showing. Well, whenever you do see that, we would like it to appear in that manner. Next, we have deliverables. And this is just a table of items that will be due and their due dates. Next, we have performance measures, which will be verified or finalized through the contract negotiation process. And my colleague Bonnie will speak a little bit more about the performance measures. Lastly, the last attachment is the mandatory reporting of abuse checklist. This is what the trust would like all providers to adhere to in the event that abuse has to be reported. Are there any questions? Okay, thank you, Dion.
Okay, so performance measures. The trust seeks to fund programs that are directly linked to positive outcomes for children and youth. And we use a results-based accountability framework to define our performance measures. And they're parsed out into 3 categories: our how much measures, which are measures of quantity, how much efforts are going out to serve youth, how many youth are served, the adults that are providing the mentorships, the number of one-on-one contacts, as well as the number of group sections. Our how well measures our indicators of programmatic quality and engagement. And for those, we have the percent of mentors who are receiving the regular program check-ins with staff, the parent and caregiver involvement, which is very important, and that the youth are receiving a good average frequency of mentorship contacts monthly, and that the duration of the match, which we know are both very related to the outcomes of the youth, which it leads to our better off category, which are short-term are outcomes that measure knowledge gains, behavior changes, changes in circumstance, attitude. And for our mentoring contract, we look at youth who report relational satisfaction and closeness with our mentor. We know this is an important protective factor. The percentage of youth who are doing well are making gains in their social emotional skill, and the percent of youth with no Department of Juvenile Justice involvement and are doing well are making improvements in school performance. So all our programs have performance measures, and these would be ones that during the duration of the contract that I would work with, me and the CTAC team would work with providers to collect this information and measure it along the way to see how well the programs are performing. And on our next slide will be a very important tool we will be using to track and collect our data. So we recently are transitioning into an integrated online data system, which will be our one-stop shop for tracking our efforts and work together. And a big part of that will be entering in our data on the youth and the mentors, and also other fiscal and other things. So upon being awarded funding, we would make sure that to set up program staff to register and receive training to use this data system so we can track our work together effectively and efficiently. On our next slide gets into more of the details of the specific information that we'll be collecting. So the first one gets into participant characteristics that we'd be looking to track to ensure that we understand the types of children and youth that are accessing services. The slide after looks at the level of participation and types of participation to see what efforts are going into and how much participation is happening, both for one-on-one mentoring, the group-based mentoring, the involvements of parents and families, and programmatic oversight and support that's being provided to the mentors and families. So if you think back to the performance measure slide, this would be how we would measure some of those performance measures related to quality. And then on the very last data collection slide that we have for you, that we would ask for providers that we work with to collect some surveys and assessments to really determine some of the results and benefits of the youth mentoring. So a mentor-mentee relationship quality assessment to assess the quality and the satisfaction with the mentor relationship, and a youth outcome survey to help us learn some of the other benefits and the results of the mentoring and how it's impacting youth. Are there any questions on data collection, our data collection system, or performance measures?
Someone talking? All right, I guess there's no questions. We'll move on. So now we're gonna go over the application training and that process of the documents that will be required for your application. We mentioned these documents earlier that you are to download. The first document is Form 1, Prospective Contractor Certification. Be sure to read through these and fill these out completely. There's questions that must have an answer. Do not leave them blank. I'm gonna have 3 slides showing this document because it's 3 pages long. The second page, also you'll see the highlight in blue areas. Make sure you put in your requested dollar amount down here. You also have to match this on your budget page when you're filling out your budget with the requested dollar amount. The most important about this Form 1 as well as all these information is important is the final page is to make sure you're putting in your information on your organization address and also signing the Form 1 application. It's very important that this information is in there for this application form to be complete. This is one of the 3 documents currently you need to download and fill out. The next document will be our budget and budget narrative. And I'm gonna stop sharing and have my fiscal team take over from there.
Good evening. I am going to share my screen. Can everybody see the program budget summary form? Excellent. Okay. We have updated our budget narrative. This particular form, if you'll notice in the gray areas, you don't need to fill out that information. What we've attempted to do is, as you fill out the tabs that pertain to what you are requesting, a lot of the data will auto-populate for you. So this on tab 2, this is the tab that Dion spoke about earlier in the presentation. We're looking for you to identify all of your funding sources, including in-kind services. And if you need more room, if you have more than 10, you can add. One thing you need to do, you need to use this form. Please don't create your own budget narrative and budget form and submit that. We want you to download this form and use this form. We encourage descriptions because the review team may or may not have the benefit of completely understanding your particular program. Next tab is personnel. This is for your employees. We have a separate tab that is for contractual people that you may bring in to help with your program. So only your actual employees would be captured in this area. In this center area, you'll notice there's a description and an example of how to complete the area above. The blue will auto-populate, and then we're looking for you to fill in the areas in the non-shade areas. Once you put your personnel in, as I was talking about a moment ago, all this blue area will go ahead and pre-populate for you. So even though you've done it on the first tab now, you don't have to redo it when you go to identify the fringe that are associated with your personnel. If a tab does not pertain to your program, you're not going to ask for funding on a particular tab, please put down here in the bottom, not applicable or not asking for. That way somebody that looks at your packet doesn't think that you forgot to put something in. Again, we use this form to get you to think of the different possibilities that you could ask for, but it's not required. You don't have to fill out the tab if you're not asking for funding on that particular area. This one is for office supplies. Again, we've given a brief definition of what we consider to be office supplies. Program supplies is different than office supplies, and there is a tab for that right next to office supplies. You'll see the definition of what we consider to be more program specific. Here is your contractual services. This will tell you what we expect to get back for proof that you're, tracking your folks' hours or getting invoices. And certifications and training. This particular RFP doesn't pay for memberships, but if there is a CPR training or something like that, you can capture that, and you and your contract manager can discuss that at a later time. Printing, there again, you see there's a definition of what we look at as printing. For us to pay for the printing, you need to have CTAX logos. If you don't have CTAX branding on it, the printing is not in compliance with our contract. Have communication. And then you have your general and your insurance. Again, please feel free to add additional justification, descriptions, anything you think that would be helpful for us to understand what your needs are. We have equipment and maintenance. And lastly, the tab of other, in case we didn't cover it on all the other tabs. I'll stop here, and if there are any questions, I am willing to help. And additionally, we're going to have office hours. So if you have questions or concerns, please sign up for office hours so we can, help you out. We can't tell you how to set your program up, but we can help you with the technical aspects of filling out the budget narrative. Any questions? Okay, I'm gonna turn it back over to you, Dion.
All right. For those also on this call, please revisit the RFP on page 13 at the bottom and page 14. You will see all the funding restrictions that you can use and not use for your budget when you're setting it up. So please make sure to look at that section, hopefully the whole RFP, but make sure for your budget, you review that to make sure you're not putting something in there that will not qualify for something for your budget. All right, so that's Form 2. Also, another document that has to be downloaded and submitted with your application. I'm going to go over the third form, which is organizational information and organizational narrative. This form also covers the criteria evaluation areas I went over earlier. Where your organization narrative, you will be able to put in the information describing more detail about your program and organization. That first section, as I went over you can get up to 30 points in that area. Make sure you completely fill out all information on this document as well. Please do not leave anything blank. The second area will cover the program implementation up to 25 points. I went through that as well. And then your agency stability and capability area has questions. There's a total of 17 questions on this form that you will be filling out, finishing up with your budget area. Nicole went over if there's any technical support needed for the document of the budget. Please make sure you go through the procurement email to set up those appointments for those allotted dates. Do we have any questions? Team?
There are none in the chat.
Dion, we're in the code of silence, so they can't ask questions directly to us or our board members, but they can submit a question. Did you want to show them how to do that?
We did that already.
That was early
Okay.
on. I did
Okay.
that. Is there somebody asking that?
No, I don't know if it was just me missing it from before or.
Yeah, we covered that, and this is being recorded. So if anybody missed it, you will be able to look at this recording to go over that. I did go through those steps. All right, so here's the submission checklist. Please print this out as well. It's also in the RFP. Make sure you're checking off every box on here when you're submitting your application to make sure you have all your documents submitted. First, Form 1, prospective contractor certification. Form 2, the budget and narrative. Form 3, organization information and organizational narrative. Also, if there's any addendas added, make sure you download, sign, and submit those as well. Attachment 1, I'm going to stop sharing right now. It's asking about current 990 forms, organization annual audit. I'm going to have fiscal as well talk to you about that area of what qualifies your agencies to submit what.
Some of the submissions that are required. So the 990, this is a heavily redacted example, and it is basically your income and expenses, a little bit about your company. It has a checklist about you, and talk about some of your board members and your top executives. So this would be the primary document that we would prefer. If this is something that you do not file because you're a small company, hopefully you have financial statements, audited financial statements, and this is prepared by an audit company, an accounting firm, And this is the Children's Trust that can be found on our website. And statements typically talk all about the company, income statement with revenues and expenses, balance sheets, and an auditor's opinion. If because you're too small, you don't prepare financial statements, then we would appreciate, chances are that you file with the Florida Department of Agriculture and Consumer Services. And this also talks about the company and your board members, and also requires statement of revenues and expenses, a little bit about your balance sheets. So we would require you to send in this entire form, all pages. If for some reason you don't file with the Department of Agriculture, you don't pay taxes and prepare 990s, if you don't prepare financial statements, then we would require you to provide income statements and balance sheets that you give your board of directors, along with the minutes associated with the meeting that you gave that information to your board with. So it isn't that we require all these things, it's either or. Any one of these things would be great. Thank you. Dion.
Are there any questions concerning these documents for our fiscal department?
How do I stop?
There's a question in the chat. What information will a one-person LLC provide?
Either or. If you don't have 990s, then definitely audited statements. If you don't have audited statements, then whatever you file with the Department of Agriculture, as long as it's this solicitation of contributions form. If you don't do that either, then please show us what you gave your board as far as statements go, income and balance sheet in the minutes. Those are 4 things that if you don't do one, you can give us the other. Lots of options.
Does that answer your question, Ms. Ezra? Oh, you're saying the company file
You can come
personal
off
taxes.
mute.
Ms. Ezra, you can come off mute and ask your question.
It's okay to read it. It's just simply saying, like, some LLCs, you file that along with your personal regular taxes, and there's no board with some LLCs, there's no board or, other people. So I'm just asking for others. It's not for me, but just asking. Like, there are other ways. It seems like this is showing more targeted to nonprofit, but there are other companies, more of LLCs.
So the LLCs don't have a board either, is that what you're saying?
Yes.
Financial statements of
It's
any
usually
kind.
like filed on 1040 forms, and then you have your Schedule C and things like that, profit and loss.
That'll work.
Yeah.
Yeah, Diana, maybe I missed it. I believe they can also supply their profit and loss statement and a balance sheet. So there's something that you do regardless of your size, regardless of whether you're a nonprofit or an LLC, where you have finances and you have a financial report. And that's what we're asking for if you don't have a 990 or any of those other documents mentioned. Okay, I think that clarifies it.
Are there any more questions pertaining to attachment 1? All right, also needed to be submitted is attachment 2. That's the proof of active legal status from the SunBiz. Here's the link located here. So it has to be active, and you must submit that document with your application, other documents. All these documents and that are required to be downloaded and submitted should be submitted to our procurement email listed here. If we were in person, I would ask you when is the deadline date and time, but I'm going to say it for you. It's August 17th by 3 p.m. Best practices for submitting applications is to get it in ahead of time. Do the best you can not to get it in at the last moment. Also review all your documents before you submit them. Make sure you're using this checklist to make sure you have all required documents. Make sure you've also got all the addendas that are required for this RFP and submitted and signed as well. Have someone else review it with you to make sure. And if you do send it in early enough, go back and look at your email submission that you sent to the trust to make sure all those documents are in your email as you look at this checklist on your submissions to make sure you have all the required documents sent in on time to be reviewed by our reviewers. So that ends our presentation. Now we open it up for any questions. If anyone have any questions before we close out.
I have a question.
Yes, ma'am.
So if you submit your, say you submit your RFP early, you do it on the 12th, and there's an addendum that comes in. That's the part I'm a little confused with. How do you keep up with that? So is it a deadline for when all the addendums will be done prior to submission, or?
We had a cutoff date. Let me go back to the date on when we stopped answering, responding to questions. Now I'll pull that back up for you guys.
Oh, okay. Okay, I get what you're saying now.
Yeah. So this is going to be August 8th will be our last day responding to any questions. We have put those questions, and Bonnie mentioned earlier, I discussed, you need to submit your questions to this link here. This is back to our bidders page, programs page for this RFP. So you can find all that information, the email list, to make sure you get those notifications of any addendas and any questions pertaining to this RFP. So make sure you sign up here. Submit questions there. The last date will be the 8th, that we will respond and post those questions. So please don't submit before the 8th and then just don't think about it no more. So take your time, but make sure you have enough time remaining where you're not rushing to submit your application for this RFP. Does that answer your question, Toya?
Yes, thank you.
All right. Are there any more questions before we close out tonight?
Deanna, I would just want to reiterate again, you all, we really want you to be successful in your goals. And so I want to, say it one more time for the good of the group. If you can submit before the deadlines, meaning I think it's August 18th at 3. If you can submit on August 17th, or even if you submit August 18th in the morning, that way it gives you an opportunity. If for some reason you submit and you're missing something, that, you would be able to resubmit that last piece. You would be able to go back and double check that you submitted everything that you wanted to submit. 3 o'clock is a hard deadline. So if you submit at 3 and everything doesn't go through, then you've missed out on this opportunity. So I just wanted to reiterate that because again, we want you to be successful and we want you to have every opportunity to meet the criteria of our RFP. Again, thank you for being on here tonight. And thank you for everything you're going to do.
All right. Please remember to download all documents. Don't submit photo documents because we want to make sure our reviewers have legible documents to read and the proper documents to read. And we appreciate you guys giving us your time this evening. This will be posted as well as the bidders earlier today. And the questions that we have from this one and the one this morning, we will also have those questions and answers available for everyone as well. So thank you, and you guys have a good evening and good luck with your applications when you submit them.
Good night.
Good night.